All right, this is a video walk around for 43 Lena Court. First of all, beautiful cabin. Really, really rare to find still up here. Obviously, well-built package. A lot of it is undercover, and that's great. Some of it is not, and that's where the majority of the recommendations I'll make are going to be. Feel free to play this in double speed because it's going to be just a continuous shot kind of walk around. I like the 4x8 railings. Seating them in through some of these other posts is kind of problematic. The posts were probably not cured all the way down, and there's some are trying to twist, which is creating issues like this, where this is going to continue to break. This cap is going to eventually come off. I recommend taking it off and making some relief cuts, and then we can screw it back in. A couple of these have already been retrofitted like this. More concerning is a few that are starting to develop rot. We should probably get some metal covers on these on the top. It'll make them last a lot longer. This one here is rotten right from here down. Let's see. It might be the other side. Actually, all these have a little bit of movement in them. If you look at this. Okay. So borate rods will help these when they get damp to diffuse borate, which will prevent rot. You had some rot going on at the bottom of these, not uncommon with that setup, but should have a borate rod or two. One on each side of these, every one of these posts, because this is gonna progress. Get up close. Look at this. This is just mushy. And then the railing has got a little movement to it, but it's gonna get more and more as this mushy part. You can see this one, it's changing color under the stain. That means it's absorbing moisture. Okay, so again, borate rods to manufacturer's specs in the bottom and the top of all these. This might be the one I was thinking of. This one here is quite rotten on this corner. We might be able to pilot hole a screw and get a screw in there, but then cap this and keep it from progressing. It'll dry on out. Again, talking about we've had some rain, so this helps. Moisture change at the bottom, a color change rather, pulling moisture up inside. And that shows you that the bottom of those posts were not coated before they were put together. This piece, I'm real careful to try to not create breakage, but this is about to break. It's coming in this open end grain. I think you can hear the difference. It's rotten there. We could put a borate rod here, put a cap on this. And let's see, this one's already had some twist to it. There's a little bit of rot right here, but this just needs maybe just a little quick grinding and then some stain put on this one. The stain alone is not going to work on the top because that end grain is always going to be opening and flexing, and when a tree is taking water up to the top, it's made to go through the grain of the wood to feed the leaves, and so the end grain is always trying to absorb moisture. It's just what it does, whether the tree is alive or not. So on the bottom of these, you are getting some rot damage. We do need to put several borate rods in the bottom of them. And then this caulking, by the way, can come out. Vertical checks don't need to be caulked. It's not going to really stop anything. Matter of fact, it could trap, if water gets in there, it'll trap it and cause it to rot faster. So I'd recommend we yank that out. This is a joist right here, and this is a joist right here. It doesn't look like there's anything in between supporting this post. This board is like a finger width lower than the one here. So these posts should be jacked up from underneath, and then we need to get some bridging underneath back and forth between this joist and this joist to help carry this post. Same thing over here. It's sitting on the deck boards, not on a support. You have a joist right here, and you have a joist just on the very, very, very edge of it. Needs to be a triple in the middle of it, helping to carry the weight. It's not carrying the whole roof or anything because the gable ends are actually self-supporting. This post is mostly for looks. Looks great. Again, though, that caulking, let me see if I can point to it. Caulking should be taken out, and we can flood it with board. You don't want to caulk vertical checks. It's just going to keep getting weather and creating an issue. Now, I'm just going to point out that this end log, see the bottom curvature of it, right? I'll get my finger, messed it up, but let me zoom back out. The bottom edge you can see is darker than the rest. That means that there's some water running down and absorbing there in those bottom curves as well. So that should be coated really good, ground down smooth, and coated with multiple coats of stain. The end grain of that big ridge beam is really important to keep dry and protected. Okay, let's walk on around the rest. I mean, looks good. I like the natural deck setup. You don't have to stain this if you don't want to. It needs a good wash because of your curvature of your logs. Everywhere pollen and everything sits there, that's a food source for mildew and all kinds of other gunk. And you don't want anything growing on it. By the time you see something growing, it's eaten the stain away already that's there. Keep a lookout for sawdust like this. That means there's a carpenter bee hole above it. There's the one right here for this. These are going to be problematic if we don't get the bottoms of these railings sprayed regularly, specifically by a pest control company that knows that they are spraying for carpenter bees and has a checklist of the areas to spray. Possible that pegging the other posts that are out in the open like this through the railing could help the issue, and we could do that. That would minimize that twisting. What's happening right now is, if you can look, you'll see one. See that 4x8 is drying as it twists, which is normal, but it doesn't have any way for the post to resist that, and it's going to cause cracking along the grain line. So that's like the way the post is actually weak, unfortunately. Anyways, let me zoom back out. Okay, we're all the way out. Everything under cover is good. Just keep it washed. The deck here needs to be cleaned and stained. Your exterior posts out here are also starting. See the moisture marks there? That means it's taking in moisture down this crack because of the gunk or mildew or mushroom or whatever it is growing in there. So again, caps will help that after it's all done. I'm going to point out this is a rotten post. It may need to be replaced. May not if we just put some borate rods, clean it, and put a cap. But it's splitting out here. That's going to progress rapidly if you don't get it taken care of. One of them is really rotten. It might be down at the bottom of the steps. But anyways, caps on all these would be good. Anyways, at least the ones that are in the weather. And then just, again, the tops of these, all the 4x8s look great. That horizontal surface is like a deck. It needs cleaning and really, really good stain maintenance on it. I think it might be the bottom one here. Yeah. If I push down in the middle, you can see this whole centerpiece is rotting. So borate rods, and then after it's cleaned, putting a cap. Also need to put borate rods. Junk will accumulate here, and this will rot. So we need to go in here with a couple borate rods. We drill a hole, we put the rod, and then we put a dowel rod behind it, drive it in and cut it off, and it just looks like a little wooden circle. It gets stained. Probably never notice them, but we try to position them so that they look like they're part of what's supposed to be there. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Side looks pretty good. This is definitely getting some more sun, like in the mornings. You can see that there is, for the bottom 3 to 4 logs, the upper curvature is worn and already peeling. Could have been a high moisture content, could be the product they use. Maybe it sickens. We don't recommend it because it peels a lot in Georgia. Doesn't pass water through it very well coming from inside out. See all the little tiny fine lines. Water is going to get into a log. You have to allow it to get back out when it stops raining. And if it gets in there and can't come out through the stain, it'll cause peeling. So you've got a bit of that going on. We'll keep an eye on it. Anything we put on top is going to peel again, but it could be mitigated with just regular washing and touch up with maybe clear coat or a little bit of stain. I'm going to point out over here. We'll go this way. Logs that are sticking out past the drip line are very susceptible to rot. So this one, this one, this one. I know you probably don't want to cut them back. They need borate rods put in them. And what people do is they get copper and they put copper over the top half of the log, and we pin it down here, and then that way it sheds. You can bring the copper like an inch past the face of that log, and it looks good. It turns into a patina and has a nice brown look that blends in with everything. If you don't do that, they need to be cut back, or you may end up the rot. The problem is that the rot can continue on into the log, and then you're going to have a really odd look if this one gets way shorter. But that should be addressed really soon. There also looks like a little bit, I feel like there's a little bit of rot already right here at the bottom of this log, probably coming in from this and then running down. See how it slopes down slightly? Again, a borate rod that will arrest all of that in its tracks. And then there's a little bit of stain just failing right there. I'll pull that little piece off. You can see that it's peeling off. The gutters, well, the gutters need to be replaced. They're 4-inch gutters or 3-inch downspouts and 4-inch gutters. There should be 6 inches on this house, any log home. These are gutters that were pieced in. The builder probably, you get them from Home Depot. They're 10-foot sections. They are not a seamless gutter. I just highly recommend swapping it out and getting a seamless gutter, because you're going to have issues with it not being able to handle the water that comes from that top roof, drips on this roof, and then goes into the gutter. And I'm going to point out an area of decent concern. This is the log that sticks out. It's right by this tiny downspout. It's actively rotting. We need to get on it, cut it back, or cut the top of it flat. Let me zoom out so you can see my hand. Cut the top of it flat, but come down this way like a slope. There's a couple that are undercover already done this way. I can do it with the chainsaw. That way the water will drain, and we can let it dry on out because it'll be drying, and put some borate rods, but a slope on it from undercover on out, at least 3-4 inches, will help this log not have to be cut out and replaced. You have moss growing in it right now. Right there. That shows a very high moisture content. Active rotting going on. We're zoomed out. Let's continue around this way. The pressure treated posts and railings, they need to be stained as well. I know they're pressure treated, but that rapidly goes downhill and you get cracking and splitting. We have a stain that will work really good on that. This looks really nice. I like that. Bottoms could be touched up maybe. Same thing, pergola. We got a stain that'll go on that. And the bench, the wall, That's called Ready Seal. Very inexpensive to apply and really good for the kind of support that's necessary. And this deck needs to be washed and stained. You might consider an under deck system under here to capture all the water and run it out that way and make a dry area, because what's going to happen, this hot tub's going to continue to take a lot of weathering and take a beating with it. It seems like it's undercover, but it's not really, because it's underneath the deck. All right, so let's see if we can spot those posts. I don't know if you can see it. So yeah, you do have a post, and you have a double going over here to this triple. Make sure it's right underneath the post. It is underneath the post. For some reason, that board's been cut back. But if you look at it, let's see. It's sitting mostly on this double. That double is sitting on this 2x2 that's nailed to the triple. The triple is sitting on the 6x6. There's a 1/2 inch of the 6x6 sitting out. So that double that's holding the whole post is sitting on a 1/2 inch of the 6x6 that's over here to the left side. It really needs more support. We can double up a 6x6 to this one, no big deal. We can run it up underneath that double. Once we make sure that double is tight to the post and has some lift, we'd run a string line up top, make sure everything's level, jack it up till it's level, and then put a 6x6 beside this one. It's a double. We put like an inch between them. It looks kind of cool. Craftsman style type thing. And run it underneath this 6x6, or this double rather, after this one is jacked up where it needs to be. And then run it down and put it underneath put it on a block on the concrete. Almost the exact same thing here. Just like looks like it's supported, but it's not, because when you come around to the side, where's my finger? There we go. This double is not sitting on this post, and it needs to be to support that post. So this triple right here, you zoom out, I know it's can make you sick looking at it moving around. Triple, you look directly up, the post comes out to here. So it goes to there. So even the triple going sideways, the post is not sitting on it. This is where the post needs to be, not where the post is. The post above us is centered right where my finger is. And I would venture then, just by looking at where the shadow is and everything, this one, it's the same thing. That it comes from here to here, and it's basically just barely on the edge of that triple. So not a big deal, just you need another post underneath each of these other posts. And then it'll be well supported. And then we can put the borate rods all the way around the bottom. And they should be not sitting on the deck. Those screw jack supports that you see at the top of the posts, maybe I can step out here and show them to you. They're supposed to be at the bottom. So let me show you. Zoom in, zoom in. You see this? It's made so that you can adjust as the logs settle in the house. You can adjust the amount of support. It's a screw, and it can be adjusted with a wrench. But those screw jacks are supposed to go at the bottom. There should be one at the bottom of a post. So a post should never be sitting on a flat surface where it can wick water in like that. If you'd like, we could swap that out. While we have this thing supported, we could take these posts and cut them shorter, cut 6 inches off of them, get rid of the rot, and put a screw jack on the bottom. And then what you do is you wrap the bottom of the post with a piece of copper, and that allows you to get to the screw jack. It hides it. The copper turns a nice brown color. The post is not itself touching the deck. You get like a 4-inch gap there. It stays nice and dry, lasts for years and years and years. That's the way it's supposed to be done. You have them on these spots as well, unfortunately, and that's hooked in with a railing and stuff. We have to take the post completely out and lay it down to do that, so I probably wouldn't do it here, but we'll put a bunch of borate rods. You may consider it on the 2 that are easy. Just another view of the house from here, and I'm going to show you that this is the rotten log up top by that downspout. We'll definitely get that cut back and put some borate rods. I would say the house itself looks pretty good with just a wash, but when we wash, a lot of areas are kind of looking dry. But let's see, it depends on if they change color when we wash. So this lower area of this wing wall looks like it could use some more stain. The fascia boards don't have any sheen left. The upper curvatures of the logs look worn, which is normal. The lower curvatures look pretty good once we wash everything. We have a clear coat we can put on that will water proof everything and convert it over to the Sanson product that we use, but without making anything darker. You may consider that it's the most cost-effective way to get everything protected and not change any coloring on anything and just let the natural variations show. And then we can also get some stain that matches the stain that's there, but every time you add a layer of stain, you're going to get darker. So a lot of people don't want to go too dark, but for touch-up, we can get some stain and have it here as well. If we use that stain on the railings and decks and stuff, it would tie these lighter areas in and make them look a lot more like the house. That's an option for you. Last option I'll mention is, oh no, I did mention the underdeck. This needs to be stained, like I said. And let's go on around. With the clear coat, we spray the posts and the stone. We clean all that. We spray the stone. Everything gets coated, and it provides a lot of protection all the way around. Those are the main areas of concern that you mentioned and that I noticed. Again, beautiful home. You're starting to get, let's see, starting to get some carpenter bee damage. Looks like this. They drill in the edge or the back, and then they go with the grain, but that board is just thick enough and their hole is just big enough that they're breaking through. You will get woodpeckers coming after those, and they'll tear the board up and you'll have to replace it. You may want to replace that board. There's a break 3 or 4 feet right there, right above the support beam. We could replace that with rough sawn and stain it to match. And yeah, that's about it. I would recommend a gutter on this side. You can see the wearing of the water, and when you get real big storms, that will eventually undermine these posts, and they will begin to sink because of the side of it wearing, washing out. So a gutter is a good idea. We clean gutters and do window cleaning and pressure washing for our clients annually, so like it's not going to be another issue. We can just throw it in when we pressure wash. We normally just do it. We get up there and blow it out. But if you did that, I would think your house would be really well maintained. And I'm just going to zoom in one more time. There's some carpenter bee activity on some of these. Let's see if I can zoom in. On this wing wall, see the sawdust and everything going all the way up through there? That means there's carpenter bees either in the soffit, or they sometimes go underneath that little lip and get underneath the siding because you have thick rough sawn siding. They'll drill into the siding itself. Spraying underneath there can help. Okay, that's it for the walk around. Let me know any questions.